The life core of a planetary life form has appeared here. Apart from the first civilization, which Longbetham isn't clear about, planetary life form has never appeared from the second to the eighth civilizations. Lin Feng knew very well how formidable planetary life forms were. Longbetham was also very certain that, by the time it descended into this world, it was already at the end of the second civilization. From the second civilization to the eighth civilization, none of them gave rise to any planetary life forms. As for the current human civilization, which was the ninth civilization, the strongest of them only had the combat power of sages. They had at most undergone for life transitions, and it was the weakest of the 9 civilizations. Only the enigmatic first civilization seemed shrouded in a mysterious veil, and was difficult to discern. If the scarlet crystal was really the life core of a planetary life form, it might be related to the first civilization. Longbetham, are you sure this is the ruins of the first civilization? Lin Feng asked Longbetham in his mind. There is no way to confirm it at all. The first civilization was shrouded in mystery, and everything about it was an enigma. I cannot confirm it unless more information can be obtained. Lin Feng nodded. He only suspected that this place was related to the first civilization, and was not certain. The tremors in the grotto became more and more intense. Lin Feng and the invincible fist sage quickly left the sixth grotto and continued walking towards the lower levels. Strangely enough, although the shaking became more and more intense, it would stop in a while. By the time Lin Feng and the invincible fist sage left the sixth grotto and entered another, the shaking had already disappeared. Dean, does the 18 grottos of Dragonhead extend all the way underground? Lin Feng asked curiously. No, the 18 grottos of Dragonhead is just a general term. It means that there are 18 grottos. However, some of these 18 grottos are parallel and some extend downwards. They can't be generalized. We've explored these grottos before, but as we encountered demon emperors, we could only give up. We're not even sure if there are more grottos. Lin Feng was silent, so the invincible fist sage had only explored 18 grottos. However, on second thought, this made sense. There were demon emperors in these grottos. If he could explore them all, wouldn't the invincible fist sage already know the grottos like the back of his hand? Why would he ask Lin Feng for help to explore it again? By the way, where are those demon emperors? They're in the 18th grotto below. Last time I encountered those 2 demon emperors there. I suffered heavy losses and almost didn't make it out. Thinking of his previous experience, the invincible fist sage still had some lingering fear, but at the same time, he felt a little ashamed. He was known as the invincible fist sage, and his strength was ranked in the top few among the 9 sages, yet he was defeated by 2 demon emperors and ended up in an incomparably sorry state. All right, let's continue exploring then. It seems like those tremors just now also came from below. Lin Feng was also very curious about the grottos below. Previously, he had only wanted to help the invincible fist sage or make some contributions to humanity. Now, after discovering the life core of a planetary life form, Lin Feng was very interested in these grottos. The secrets contained in it might even be very useful for his cultivation. Now, Lin Feng was the one taking the initiative to explore this grotto. As the invincible fist sage and Lin Feng continued down, they passed through the 7th, 8th, and 9th grotto. The style of these grottos was basically similar. The murals on the walls also depicted some strange things. Moreover, Lin Feng discovered an altar in every grotto. Seeing these altars, Lin Feng naturally would not pass on them. Even Longbetham had said that life cores were good stuff. He naturally had to plunder them all. Hence, Lin Feng would shatter every altar he encountered. However, after encountering more than 10 altars in succession, Lin Feng only found about 5 scarlet crystals, which were the life cores of planetary life forms. Under the other altars, there was either none, or the crystal had been reduced to dust. Including the scarlet crystal that Lin Feng had obtained previously, Lin Feng now had a total of 6 life core fragments of planetary life forms. Just as Lin Feng continued to descend, the tremors suddenly occurred again. This time, they were even more intense. Lin Feng could even sense that the source of the tremors was very close. Now, Lin Feng was already at the 17th altar. According to the Invincible Fist Sage, the two demon emperors were in the 18th grotto. Sage Lin Feng, if we encounter two demon emperors later, don't hold back. Do your best. The two of us will join forces and kill one demon emperor first. Understood. Lin Feng nodded. The Invincible Fist Sage had been waiting for this day for a long time. Swoosh, swoosh. The two of them immediately sped up. The world opened up before them. It was a brand new grotto. This grotto was huge, like a huge underground palace. Lin Feng had never seen such a huge underground building. Moreover, as soon as he stepped into this grotto, Lin Feng's spear of destruction kept shaking, far more violently than when encountering any life core before. There's a life core here too? And it might be very large. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. Although life cores were precious, it was very likely that they would face demon emperors. They could not be rash. Rumble. The grotto shook violently again. Lin Feng and the Invincible Fist Sage quietly stepped into the 18th grotto. Before long, they saw two demon emperors on the altar in front of them. They seemed to be destroying the altar in a frenzy. However, this altar was very strange. There were countless murals on the altar, and they vaguely formed chains. Every time the two demon emperors collided with the altar, the chains would flicker, but there was almost no sign of weakening. The chains resisted the attacks of the two demon emperors, blocking the two demon emperors outside the altar. It's these two demon emperors. Impressive. They're actually so much larger than the last time. A sharp glint flashed across the Invincible Fist Sage's eyes. This was also the first time Lin Feng had seen a demon emperor. Having often heard about demon emperors from the sages, Lin Feng already imagined that demon emperors were very powerful. But now, seeing these two demon emperors with his own eyes, Lin Feng still felt that his previous thoughts were too conservative. The two demon emperors in front of him were each over 100 meters long and dozens of meters tall. One of them looked similar to a bull. Its entire body was covered in black scales that appeared like metal armor, and it emitted a fiendish aura. This demon emperor was called the Demon Emperor Mo by the Invincible Fist Sage. The other one was also over 100 meters long, but its body was very short, only about 10 meters tall. Its entire body was flat, and its body was constantly squirming like a fleshworm. There were hundreds of thick legs beneath it, and there were tentacles that could harden or soften on its body. It looked very sinister and terrifying. This demon emperor was called the Demon Emperor Millipede by the Invincible Fist Sage. The two demon emperors were focused on attacking the chains on the altar, and did not seem to have noticed the intrusion of Lin Feng and the Invincible Fist Sage. Sage Lin Feng, that Demon Emperor Mo's defense is very strong and difficult to deal with. The two of us will join forces first and try our best to severely injure or even kill the Demon Emperor Millipede. The Invincible Fist Sage had fought with two demon emperors before, so he naturally knew the background of the two demon emperors. All right, let's deal with the Demon Emperor Millipede first. Lin Feng took a deep breath and locked his gaze on the Demon Emperor Millipede. Divine Kingdom of Fire. Boom! Before the two demon emperors noticed, the Invincible Fist Sage instantly unleashed all his astral power. The Divine Kingdom of Fire descended in an instant, enveloping the entire grotto. Tidal Combat Body. Seeing that the Invincible Fist Sage had deployed the Divine Kingdom, Lin Feng no longer suppressed his combat body. Hence, the Tidal Combat Body erupted with a bang, and his body expanded rapidly like a balloon. 10 meters, 20 meters, 50 meters, 100 meters, 200 meters. In the blink of an eye, Lin Feng's Tidal Combat Body had already expanded to 260 meters. It had even reached the top of the grotto. Even a slight move was earth-shattering, and might even break the entire grotto. Seeing Lin Feng's 260-meter combat body, the Invincible Fist Sage's eyes were also filled with shock. Although he had seen the video before and knew that Lin Feng used another cultivation method that allowed his body to expand, how could seeing it through the video be comparable to seeing it with his own eyes? The 260-meter Tidal Combat Body was almost Lin Feng's strongest state at the moment. With a single step, he arrived in front of the Demon Emperor Millipede. His hands slammed down like two mountains. The Demon Emperor Millipede seemed to have sensed a trace of danger as well. The countless tentacles on its body suddenly grew thicker, like vines thicker than arms, and they instantly swept towards Lin Feng from all directions. Once Lin Feng's tidal combat body had erupted, its power was like a tsunami that crashed down with unstoppable force. Even the tentacles of the Demon Emperor Millipede only hindered the speed of Lin Feng's palm landing for a moment. Gore! The other Demon Emperor Mo rolled over and broke free from the restraint of the flames. He did not even fear the flames of the invincible Fist Sage as he charged towards Lin Feng in a frenzy. Divine Fire of Apocalypse! Seeing that the Demon Emperor Mo was about to break through the restraints and charge towards Lin Feng, the invincible Fist Sage was also worried. Endless flames erupted all of a sudden in his divine kingdom of fire. At the same time, it was as if a dark cloud had turned entirely into flames. Boom! Scorching flames instantly blasted down with a destructive might, causing even Demon Emperor Mo to sense a trace of threat. This was a sage. Being comparable to a Demon Emperor was no joke. Bang! Lin Feng's palms struck the Demon Emperor Millipede hard, and the destructive force struck the ground directly. Lin Feng could clearly feel the Demon Emperor Millipede's body explode all of a sudden. It had really exploded. How terrifying was his strength! In the past, his 200-meter combat body was already comparable to an ordinary Demon Emperor, let alone now, when Lin Feng's tidal combat body had reached 260 meters. Even Lin Feng himself did not have a direct understanding of how strong he was. Now, he knew that his current strength was already comparable to some powerful Demon Emperors, and might be even stronger. A full power strike from him was already enough to blast the Demon Emperor Millipede's body into pieces. This only happened in a flash. From the moment the invincible Fist Sage used the Divine Kingdom of Fire, to Lin Feng shattering the Demon Emperor Millipede's body with a punch, it only took a few breaths. Crunch! As Lin Feng's strength was simply too strong, the ground began to crack as if an earthquake was occurring, and it shook violently again. Gore! The Demon Emperor Mo roared angrily and threw its head back. It actually charged out of the invincible Fist Sage's divine kingdom. The invincible Fist Sage personally intercepted it, but with just one strike, the invincible Fist Sage's divine kingdom of fire had already been broken. All the astral power in his body was being consumed in a frenzy. How can it be so strong? The invincible Fist Sage was very shocked. It wasn't like he hadn't fought them before. Back when he encountered the Demon Emperor Mo and the Demon Emperor Millipede, the invincible Fist Sage could still escape from the two Demon Emperors. Although he was in a somewhat sorry state, the strength of the two Demon Emperors was far from being enough to crush the invincible Fist Sage. But now, with just one strike, he actually failed to withstand the attack of the Demon Emperor Mo. With one strike, his divine kingdom had broken, and the invincible Fist Sage was severely injured. Fortunately, the invincible Fist Sage was a sage, and his astral power was very abundant, almost infinite. Hence, although he was severely injured, his life was not in danger. Dean! Lin Feng lifted his hand. Seeing that the invincible Fist Sage had been sent flying by a strike from Demon Emperor Mo, he immediately went to save the invincible Fist Sage. However, just as he let go, thick tentacles suddenly wrapped around Lin Feng's hands. Look out! The invincible Fist Sage cried in shock. Lin Feng turned around abruptly, his eyes filled with shock. When Lin Feng struck the ground with his palm just now, he had clearly shattered the Demon Emperor Millipede. However, the Demon Emperor Millipede was fine now. It did not even appear too injured. How could this be possible? This was a full-force strike from the tidal combat body. Even faced with screwworms with the undying characteristic, Lin Feng could easily kill them with a single strike. Break! Lin Feng tore hard with both hands. Countless tentacles broke off, but more tentacles wrapped around his body. Moreover, these tentacles seemed to have an extremely strange power. It appeared to be some kind of special venom that could actually continuously destroy Lin Feng's combat body cells. This is? Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. He could not break free from the Demon Emperor Millipede's restraints immediately. At the same time, the Demon Emperor Millipede crawled out of the pit underground again. The demon Emperor Millipede appeared to be in a poor state. Its entire body was covered in injuries, but it was not dead. Moreover, its body was suffused with a layer of black aura, and a scarlet light surrounded Lin Feng's body. The demon Emperor Millipede's tentacles covered all directions, and cocooned Lin Feng completely like spider silk. Sage Lin Feng, the invincible fist sage, extended his hand and waved. The flames transformed from astral power instantly enveloped the tentacles on Lin Feng's body. However, these tentacles were invulnerable to fire and water. Not even the flames of the invincible fist sage could burn them off. How did these two demon emperors become so strong? The invincible fist sage's expression was very grim. He was also a little anxious. If this continued, the two of them might really die. There were only 10 sages among humanity. If the two of them died, who could guard the 18 grottos of Dragonhead? At that time, when the two demon emperors charged out, it would be another calamity. Boom! The battle between the four of them just now was devastating, especially the battle between Lin Feng and the demon emperor Millipede. It caused the entire grotto to collapse, and rocks were already falling from the top. At the same time, the altar that was originally full of chains began to crack. Dense cracks appeared like spiderwebs. Crack. Finally, the altar shattered. A scarlet glow practically bathed the entire grotto in blood red. Heavens! What a huge scarlet crystal! The invincible fist sage took a deep breath. It turned out that after the altar shattered, an incomparably huge scarlet crystal appeared, almost like a huge millstone. It was countless times larger than the 6 scarlet crystals Lin Feng had plundered. Life core. So their objective is this life core. Although Lin Feng was entangled by the tentacles, he could still see the situation in the grotto. The huge life core also shocked Lin Feng. The moment the two demon emperors saw the huge life core, their eyes immediately turned ravenous. Swoosh! Swoosh! The demon emperor Mo and the demon emperor Millipede charged towards the huge life core almost immediately. Clearly, they both wanted to obtain the life core. This life core seemed to be lethally attractive to them. Previously, they were continuously attacking the altar probably because they knew that there was a life core under the altar. Lin Feng, quick, we cannot let them obtain that life core. Once they devour it, only death awaits you. Suddenly, Long Betham's voice sounded in Lin Feng's mind, and it sounded very anxious. They can devour life cores? Not only can they devour it, I even suspect that the life cores that were lost in those grottos were devoured by them. That is why they were able to grow to such a powerful level. Once they devour this huge life core, they might even reach a level comparable to 5 life transitions. Lin Feng gasped. With a level comparable to 5 life transition, even if they were just an ordinary demon emperors without the cosmic cultivation system or cultivating a combat body, greater demons with 5 life transitions could already annihilate the entire human world. No wonder these two demon emperors guarded these grottos so insistently and refused to leave. It turned out that these life cores were so beneficial to them. Hence, Lin Feng frantically mobilized the power of his combat body. However, there were simply too many tentacles wrapped around his body. Even without the demon emperor Millipede controlling them, they could still trap Lin Feng for a period of time. Ignite! Lin Feng did not hesitate at all. He instantly ignited 10 meters of his combat body. This was a last resort. This kind of ignition was permanent. His combat body instantly shrank from 260 meters to 250 meters. However, the power produced by instantly igniting 10 meters of the combat body was simply earth-shattering. Lin Feng roared in fury, and the countless tentacles on his body broke at once. There was a ripping noise. With all its tentacles broken, even the demon emperor Millipede suffered a certain amount of backlash. However, it did not even turn around. Instead, it flew towards the huge scarlet crystal in a frenzy. Moreover, it had already opened its mouth, preparing to swallow it. Dean, stop them! Lin Feng shouted. The invincible fist sage could clearly tell that the scarlet crystal must be very important to the two demon emperors. No matter what it did, he could not let the two demon emperors succeed. Divine fire of apocalypse! The invincible fist sage gathered the last of his strength. endless astral power actually condensed into a 100-meter-tall flaming giant. It roared and smashed down hard. Boom! The flame giant exploded with a bang. Although it hindered the two demon emperors slightly, without the enhancement of the divine kingdom, it did not stop them for long. On the other hand, the invincible fist sage's pre-existing injuries were exacerbated, and his combat strength had clearly decreased. Just as the demon emperor Millipede was about to devour the scarlet crystal, the demon emperor Mo suddenly swung its tail hard. Bang! This strike landed squarely on the demon emperor Millipede's body. Immediately, its massive body was sent flying as it let out an angry roar. However, it was already too late. The demon emperor Mo opened its bloody mouth and swallowed the life core in one gulp. Even though the demon emperor Millipede used its tentacles to entangle demon emperor Mo, in time it was useless. The two demon emperors fought like they were ballistic. At the same time, the entire grotto was already shaking. It was obvious that it was about to collapse. Sage Lin Feng, let's leave quickly. Seeing that the grotto was about to collapse, the invincible fist sage also thought of retreating. Lin Feng glanced at the battle between the two demons. He still had a chance to obtain the life core. Otherwise, once he left, if the demon emperor Mo slowly digested the life core, it would very likely become a terrifying greater demon on the level of 5 life transitions. At that time, no matter how far they escaped, it would be pointless. Dean, you're injured. Leave quickly. No matter what, I can't let these two demon emperors obtain the scarlet crystal. With that, Lin Feng immediately joined the battle. Rumble. Lin Feng's 250-meter combat body was also very terrifying when unleashed. Moreover, he seemed to have a tacit understanding with the Demon Emperor Millipede to work together to deal with the Demon Emperor Mo immediately. The Demon Emperor Mo roared repeatedly, but it was forced to retreat continuously by Lin Feng and the Demon Emperor Millipede. His body was injured all over. The Demon Emperor Mo roared furiously. Its entire body seemed to have expanded again. At the same time, it smacked the ground in a frenzy. Crunch. Finally, cracks actually appeared on the ground from its strikes. Swoosh! The crack collapsed and the ground collapsed. In a few breaths' time, a huge hole had appeared. It was dark inside, and there was no knowing how deep it was. The Demon Emperor Mo fell directly into the huge hole. The Demon Emperor Millipede roared furiously and jumped in. Lin Feng gritted his teeth and jumped in as well. He could not let the life core fall into the hands of the two Demon Emperors. Dean, if I don't appear in a month, you won't have to wait for me. Lin Feng's voice was still echoing in the grotto, but Lin Feng was nowhere to be seen. The invincible fist sage gritted his teeth. He really wanted to jump down with Lin Feng, but he was a sage, one of the 9 sages of humanity, and he shouldered the hope of countless humans. He could not risk everything without regard. Lin Feng, you must live. The invincible fist sage gritted his teeth, then transformed into a beam of light and flew up rapidly. There was endless darkness around him. Lin Feng was already in the abyss. He did not know where he was, but he could feel that he was falling. It felt like he had been falling for a few minutes, but he still did not see the bottom. Lin Feng grabbed on to Demon Emperor Mo tightly with both hands, while Demon Emperor Millipede followed closely behind. The power on Demon Emperor Mo's body grew stronger and stronger. It seemed to be still expanding, and there was a faint scarlet light that seemed to contain a terrifying might. It is digesting the life core. Lin Feng, you do not have much time left. You have to retrieve the life core as soon as possible. Otherwise, if it digests it completely, you will be in big trouble. Lin Feng was indeed in deep trouble. The Demon Emperor Mo itself was an emperor demon. In addition, it was slowly digesting the life core. Its strength was increasing almost every moment. I have to risk it. Lin Feng made a grab and forcefully tore open the thick black scales of the Demon Emperor Mo. The Demon Emperor Mo roared in a frenzy. It opened his mouth and bit down on Lin Feng's shoulder, as if it wanted to swallow Lin Feng whole. Lin Feng's combat body was also being depleted rapidly. The Demon Emperor Mo seemed to be venomous as well, and was rapidly invading Lin Feng's combat body. Even though Lin Feng's tidal combat body excelled at defense, it could not completely stop the invasion of the venom. Gradually, the consumption of Lin Feng's combat body became greater and greater. He also felt that his strength was becoming weaker and weaker. Boom! Finally, Lin Feng fell to the ground. This seemed to be an underground river. It was bone-chilling, and the water only reached his waist. Swoosh! 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 Suddenly, the demon emperor millipede behind Lin Feng extended its long tentacles. Tens of thousands of tentacles bound Lin Feng and demon emperor Mo directly. The demon emperor millipede's tentacles were also venomous. Hence, as more and more poison entered almost every part of Lin Feng's combat body, his combat body was on the verge of collapse. However, the demon emperor Mo was still biting Lin Feng's shoulder hard. It did not seem to be afraid of the demon emperor millipede. It just wanted to stall for time and wait for it to completely digest the life core. If you want to swallow me, I can swallow you too. Lin Feng's ferocity was completely evoked. He suddenly ripped apart the scales on the demon emperor Mo's abdomen with both hands. Then, he opened his mouth and bit towards the demon emperor Mo's abdomen as well. Immediately, Lin Feng bit down hard on almost half of the demon emperor Mo's abdomen. Blood flowed in the underground river, dyeing the entire underground river blood red. There was no blood in Lin Feng's tidal combat body. That blood was all from the demon emperor Mo. But Lin Feng's combat body was constantly weakening. Gore! The demon emperor Mo struggled frantically, felt its life force draining rapidly. The life core in its body, in particular, had actually disappeared and entered Lin Feng's mouth. Without the support of the life core, its life force kept weakening. Even though it struggled frantically, trying to break free from Lin Feng's restraints, it was useless. Its strength was waning, and its life force was rapidly weakening. Lin Feng was not much better off. He bit down hard on the demon emperor Mo's abdomen. Suddenly, he felt a scorching heat slide into his mouth. At the same time, wisps of searing heat circulated through his entire body. His combat body had already diminished continuously from 260 meters to 200 meters, and was still diminishing. After all, be it the demon emperor Mo or the demon emperor millipede, their venoms were both very terrifying. Even Lin Feng's tidal combat body found it very difficult to resist two types of venoms. This was a very perilous situation. Once his tidal combat body could not hold out and continued to weaken, even if he obtained the life core and exhausted the demon emperor Mo to death, he would definitely not be able to outlast the demon emperor millipede. However, when the scorching thing slid into his mouth, the situation changed. He could feel that his body was constantly emitting a terrifying energy, and it was rapidly nourishing the combat body cells in his entire body. Life core. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. He immediately knew what this scorching power was. It must be the life core. Longbetham had once said that the life core contained all the energy and power of a planetary lifeform, and condensed the essence of a planetary lifeform. Hence, although this life core might only be a relatively large fragment of the true life core, it still contained a fearsome amount of energy. Gore! The demon emperor Mo was struggling in its death throes. It had also gone completely berserk. It turned around at once and bit Lin Feng's legs with its bloody mouth. The dreaded venom was injected into Lin Feng's body again. Immediately, even with the energy from the life core, Lin Feng's tidal combat body was collapsing rapidly. 190 meters, 170 meters, 150 meters, 130 meters. In the blink of an eye, Lin Feng's tidal combat body had already shrunk to 100 meters, and the speed of collapse was becoming faster and faster. Once Lin Feng's tidal combat body collapsed, it would mean that Lin Feng would also die. However, the life force of the demon emperor Mo was still very strong. If they entered a battle of attrition, even if Lin Feng exhausted the demon emperor Mo to death, the final winner would still be the demon emperor millipede. Lin Feng, quick! Use the life core to activate the Spear of Destruction. Longbetham's voice sounded in Lin Feng's mind, and it sounded very anxious. Spear of Destruction? Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. That's right. He still had the Spear of Destruction in his body. Once he could mobilize the destructive power in the Spear of Destruction, forget about two mere demon emperors, Even 10 more demon emperors would be nothing. As for how to mobilize the Spear of Destruction, Lin Feng did not need to worry at all. This was because as Lin Feng devoured half of the demon emperor Mo's body, the huge life core was also devoured by Lin Feng. At this moment, the Spear of Destruction seemed to have detected the life core and was already shaking wildly. Hence, Lin Feng no longer suppressed the Spear of Destruction. Instead, he immediately activated the Spear of Destruction and allowed it to approach the life core. The life core met the Destruction Spear. Boom. The Destruction Spear emitted a calamitous power. This was the annihilative power, and it exploded devastatingly from Lin Feng's body. As for the life core, it seemed to be absorbed by the Destruction Spear at once, and was disappearing at a visible speed. At this moment, Lin Feng's consciousness seemed to have blurred all of a sudden. An image appeared vaguely in his mind. It was an incomparably large life form, comparable in size to a planet, moving rapidly through the cold and dark cosmos. Suddenly, a huge hand that seemed to cover the entire starry space slammed down on the behemoth. How magnificent was that power! In front of that huge hand, even the cosmos seemed so insignificant. The behemoth, comparable to the size of a planet, kept wailing, its voice filled with unending fear. Bang! The behemoth's body exploded, and an incomparably dazzling scarlet crystal appeared in the cosmos. It was seized by the huge hand. All kinds of humiliation and indignation seemed to linger in Lin Feng's heart. Could that be the life core? This was the last thought in Lin Feng's mind. Then his consciousness blurred. After Lin Feng fainted, he had no idea that as the annihilative power in the Spear of Destruction erupted, a huge hole was suddenly blasted in his chest. His entire combat body was shattered and on the verge of collapse. A spear suddenly flew out from Lin Feng's chest. It was the Spear of Destruction. It emitted a black light that spread in all directions like a torrent. Wherever this black light swept past, everything was reduced to dust. The Demon Emperor Mo did not even let out a scream before its massive body turned to ashes and disappeared into the underground river. The uninjured Demon Emperor Millipede managed to hold out for a while, but it did not even last for a minute. It also cried out in agony and tried to escape in a frenzy. However, the annihilative power of the Destruction Spear swept out in a devastating torrent. The Demon Emperor Millipede only took a few steps back before turning into ashes as well. Only Lin Feng survived. His combat body, which had also suffered extensive damage, shrank from 100 meters to only about 50 meters. However, due to the large amount of energy in his life core, it actually managed to hold out and was not destroyed. Even so, Lin Feng lost consciousness, and his combat body was on the verge of collapse. In this dark and lonely underground river, the Spear of Destruction seemed to be incomparably avaricious as it devoured the massive life core in a frenzy. Although most of the energy in the life core was absorbed by the Spear of Destruction, a portion still entered Lin Feng's body and was quickly absorbed by the tidal combat body. However, Lin Feng still showed no signs of waking up. Rumble. The 18 grottos of Dragon Head had all collapsed. When the invincible Fist Sage finally flew out, he realized that all the area within a radius of 50 kilometers had actually collapsed. It was as if a terrifying earthquake had erupted. It was literally ground-shattering, and a huge pit had formed. However, this huge pit did not last for long. The entire area within a radius of 500 kilometers trembled. Even the ley lines were shaken, the mountains collapsed, the flows of rivers were stoppered, and the entire geologic plate was moving. The invincible Fist Sage could only watch all of this happen. Although he was a dignified sage, there was nothing he could do against this terrifying natural power. Finally, everything returned to normal. However, the 18 grottos of Dragonhead had long disappeared. There was not even a single familiar characteristic. Sage Lin Feng. The invincible Fist Sage's eyes were slightly bloodshot, but he still retained a trace of hope. He was waiting for a miracle to happen. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, the invincible Fist Sage sat cross-legged on the ground. His face was flushed, and his eyes were almost unblinking. He was waiting for the deadline of a month. Lin Feng had once said that the time limit was a month. If Lin Feng did not appear in a month, there was no need to wait for him anymore. When the morning sun shone on the earth, a fiery red cloud formed at the horizon. The aura on the invincible fist sage's body erupted with a bang. At this moment, it was as if the world had collapsed. Even the sky seemed to have turned into a burning cloud of fire. It had been a month. The invincible fist sage had waited for an entire month. He was looking forward to a miracle, but the hope of this miracle seemed to be getting slimmer and slimmer. The invincible fist sage did not give up. He kept waiting where he was. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. He waited for 3 months, but Lin Feng still did not appear. The invincible fist sage closed his eyes. No matter how unbelievable it was, this was the truth. Lin Feng was most likely dead. Hence, the invincible fist sage sent a short message on the communicator. Sage Lin Feng fell in the 18 grottos of Dragonhead 3 months ago. Sage Kong and Sage Yuani had been very happy during this period of time. Through the excavation of the ancient ruins, they had already conquered many things and obtained a lot of technology from the ancient ruins. As long as they used it slightly, they could bring the technology of the entire human world to greater heights, ushering in a technological boom. Although they were martial artists and had entered the martial arts era, they were not obstinate about it. They naturally knew the changes technology could bring. Currently, humanity's martial strength could not advance by leaps and bounds. Technological advancement could also increase humanity's strength day by day. Beep, beep, beep. Suddenly, Sage Yuani and Sage Kang's communicators rang. It's the invincible fist sage. I heard from him some time back that he's going to explore the 18 grottos of Dragonhead. Does he have good news? Sage Kong was in a good mood, so he did not think much about it and switched on his communicator. However, the moment he saw the content on his communicator, the smile on his face instantly froze. Sage Kong, what's going on? Sage Yuani hurriedly took out his communicator, and his expression also changed drastically. How could this be? Sage Kong muttered to himself in a low voice. It was as if all his vitality had been drained at once. Lin Feng was dead. Sage Kong had had high hopes for Lin Feng, but Lin Feng had died in the 18 grottos of the Dragonhead just after becoming the 10th sage. Get to the bottom of this immediately. Taoist Yuani urgently contacted the invincible fist sage. Sage Bataille was the only sage in the consortium faction. The consortium faction under his control had astonishing power. Economically, Sage Bataille was even wealthier than a country. At this moment, Sage Bataille was looking at a short message on his communicator. Lin Feng is dead? Sage Bataille looked through it carefully again. Lin Feng was indeed dead, and it was a message from the invincible fist sage himself. Although he did not get along with the invincible fist sage, the invincible fist sage would not lie to him about such a major matter. Sage Bataille was actually more interested in knowing the secret on Lin Feng. Being able to possess the combat power of a sage with the strength of 2 life transitions was a shocking secret in itself. Unfortunately, neither the invincible fist sage nor Sage Kong supported him in strong-arming Lin Feng with forceful methods. They even made Lin Feng the 10th sage of humanity. This made Sage Bataille very dissatisfied, because now that Lin Feng had become a sage of humanity, even he could no longer use some forceful methods to strong-arm Lin Feng. Otherwise, he would suffer the wrath of the other 8 sages. Beep beep. Suddenly, another short message appeared on Sage Bataille's communicator. The sender was a strange string of code. Lin Feng is dead. I want that spear of destruction. A sharp glint flashed across Sage Bataille's eyes, and he immediately replied, You're quite well informed to know such confidential information. Sage Bataille even suspected that the other party was a sage. Only sages would know such secret information immediately. Do not try to guess my identity. You only need to know how much you have benefited from me. Help me find the spear of destruction this time, and I will give you what you want. What do I want? You want the path ahead. 5 life transitions. Perhaps you've already longed for it for quite some time. Seeing this message, Sage Bataille gasped. Currently, humanity only had sages with 4 life transitions. How could anyone know the secret of the 5th life transition? However, He remembered that this person had found Sage Bataille when he was still in his third life transition. Then, they provided the secret to Sage Bataille's fourth life transition. In just over a decade, Sage Bataille had finally undergone 4 life transitions and become a sage. This mysterious person was too enigmatic and unfathomable. Even though Sage Bataille did not quite believe it, the other party had always been cryptic and knew too many of his secrets. Perhaps there really was a secret to 5 life transitions. As for who the other party was, Sage Bataille did not know either. Perhaps it was the devil. Perhaps it was someone else. He couldn't be sure. However, as long as he could undergo 5 life transitions, he would become a supreme existence among humanity. At that time, wouldn't it be a simple matter to find this mysterious person who was being deliberately enigmatic? Humph, I can't guarantee that I can find the spear of destruction. However, that robot with the combat power of a sage from the League of Guardians must belong to me. I need a way to control that robot. Deal. You only need to control the intelligent core of that robot. It's very simple. I'll send a program to your communicator. When the time comes, subdue that robot, approach the robot with the communicator, and activate the program. Soon, Sage Bataille's communicator returned to silence. Night Devil, I don't care who you are. Humph, after I obtain the robot, I'll undergo the 5th life transition quickly. No matter how deep you hide, when the time comes, I'll mobilize all the power of humanity, and I'll definitely be able to expose you. Sage Bataille gritted his teeth. In his hand lay a badge of the Night Devil. Chi-Ji, you've done well during this period of time. The unofficial members of the League of Guardians has actually increased to 1 million. At the League of Guardians headquarters, Chu Chun had obtained some authority. Hence, she had been overseeing the headquarters and helping Lin Feng to manage the League of Guardians. During this period of time, the League of Guardians developed very quickly, especially the unofficial members. Zhang Qiji was fully in charge of them. In a very short period of time, they had already developed to a remarkable level. Sister-in-law, this isn't much of a contribution. The unofficial members are all scrambling to join the League of Guardians on their own. I just established some rules and regulations. Zhang Qiji knew very well that unofficial members were just unofficial members. The foundation of the League of Guardians was still those official members. By the way, has Brother Feng still not returned? Not yet. Perhaps something delayed him. Chu Qin also frowned slightly. It had been 3 months, but Lin Feng still had not returned. There was not even any news. Although Lin Feng was a sage, Chu Chun could not help but feel a little worried. Seeing that Chu Chun seemed a little worried, Zhang Qiji said with a smile, Sister-in-law, don't worry. Brother Feng is a sage. What danger can he be in? Perhaps he's doing something big to save humanity right now. This was not flattery. Sages indeed shouldered the heavy responsibility of ensuring the safety of all humans. As a sage, many of the things Lin Feng did were indeed to protect all of humanity. Beep, beep, beep. Invasion. 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 Suddenly, an emergency alarm sounded at the League of Guardians headquarters. Even the Guardians were alarmed. Invasion. Chu Chun and Zhang Qiji immediately stood up. The defensive measures of the League of Guardians were set up by Lin Feng. As long as someone entered the defensive range of the League of Guardians headquarters without the permission of the guards, it would be considered an invasion. There were no dire beasts now. Who would dare to invade the League of Guardians? Swoosh. When Zhang Qiji and Chu Chun walked out, they saw that a small airship had already appeared in the sky. A figure exited it. I think it's Sage Bataille? Yes, I've seen his image before. He's Sage Bataille from the Consortium faction. Chu Chun heaved a sigh of relief when she saw that it was Sage Bataille on the airship. However, she was still a little confused. Why would Sage Bataille suddenly come to the League of Guardians headquarters? However, she still used her authority to turn off the alarm immediately. After the alarm was switched off, the originally restless Guardian's eyes flashed red as it sat down again. It was presided over the League of Guardians like a pylon. Only Chu Chun had the authority to command the Guardian. Sage Bataille, apologies for the lack of a formal welcome. Chu Chen bowed respectfully to Sage Bataille. Many martial artists in the League of Guardians also expressed their respect to Sage Bataille. Sage Bataille took a step forward and landed on the ground. "You're Lin Feng's fiancé?" Sage Bataille looked at Chu Chen. Although Lin Feng's engagement was very low-key, sages like them still knew. In particular, Lin Feng had transferred a portion of the authority of the League of Guardians to Chu Chen, so Chu Chen's status was even more important. "Sage Bataille, why are you at the League of Guardians headquarters?" Chu Chen was neither obsequious nor supercilious when facing a sage. After all, she was not representing herself at this moment, but the entire League of Guardians and Lin Feng. "The invincible fist sage hasn't informed you yet, right? All right, I'll be the bearer of the unfortunate news." Chu Chen and Zhang Qiji's hearts skipped a beat. They suddenly had an ominous feeling. What unfortunate news? Sage Lin Feng fought 2 demon emperors in the 18 grottos of Dragonhead and fell in battle. Boom! Sage Bataille's words were like a bolt from the blue. Chu Chen and Zhang Qiji's minds went blank. Chu Chen almost lost her footing. Zhang Qiji's wife, Bai Jing, supported her in time at the side. "Impossible, that's impossible." Unknowingly, tears had already rolled down Chu Chen's eyes. Her eyes were bloodshot as she kept shaking her head. She did not believe this news at all. Sage Bataille heaved a long sigh and said in a compassionate tone, "Chu Chen, my condolences. Sage Lin Feng died for humanity's resistance against the demon emperors. He is a hero of humanity. Brother Feng can't be dead. I'll contact Brother Feng immediately." Zhang Qiji immediately dialed Lin Feng's communicator. However, no matter how hard he tried, he could not get through. "It's useless. Sage Lin Feng is buried deep underground. Even the sages can't find his body." Chu Chen seemed to have lost all her vitality. Moments of her past relationship with Lin Feng resurfaced in her mind. She could not believe that the last time they left each other for a short time turned out to be goodbye forever. Seeing that Chu Chen and Zhang Qiji were both grieving deeply, the League of Guardians was also in chaos. Those martial artists were all official members of the League of Guardians. They had joined because the League of Guardians was a fledgling faction, and with a new sage like Lin Feng, they had a bright future ahead of them. Now that they heard the grievous news for the first time, these martial artists were in an uproar. The situation was subtly chaotic. "Everyone, there's no need to panic. Sage Lin Feng is the 10th sage of humanity. He died resisting the demon emperors this time as well. He's a great hero of humanity. We naturally can't let heroes down. Hence, the League of Guardians will not disband, and will still maintain the status quo. However, certain confidential things must be handed over to the sages for safekeeping first. Chu Chen, hand over the authority of the League of Guardians headquarters to me first. Don't worry, humanity will not forget Sage Lin Feng's contributions." "Transfer authority?" Chu Chen suddenly lifted her head. She glanced around the League of Guardians, and a trace of stubbornness appeared in her eyes. Sage Bataille, Lin Feng was the one who founded the League of Guardians. Everything here came from his hard work. I will help to guard the results of his hard work. Sage Bataille, please understand. Sage Bataille's gaze was sharp and naturally emitted an aura. Chu Chen actually did not want to hand over the authority of the League of Guardians headquarters. In fact, Sage Bataille did not have much ambition or thoughts about the League of Guardians. His only goals were the Spear of Destruction and the robot with the combat power of a sage. Chu Chen, the transfer of authority is the decision of the sages. After all, the League of Guardians is of great importance. There is also a robot with the combat power of sages and countless armed robots. If any accidents happen, it will cause a calamity for the entire human society. Please consider the greater good. Sage Bataille's tone even became slightly harsh. Is this really the sage's decision? Let me ask Lord Invincible Fist Sage first. Chu Chen immediately took out her communicator. Compared to Sage Bataille, she trusted the Invincible Fist Sage more. After all, Lin Feng was also from the Myriad Academy. Moreover, before Lin Feng left, He gave Chu Chun the contact details of the Invincible Fist Sage and Sage Kong, and told Chu Chun to look for the Invincible Fist Sage and Sage Kong if anything happened. Seeing that Chu Chun was about to call the Invincible Fist Sage's communicator, Sage Bataille waved his hand, and the communicator in Chu Chen's hand landed in Sage Bataille's hand. All of you listen up. Sage Lin Feng is dead. I will take over the League of Guardians for the time being. Those who act rashly will be charged with crimes against humanity. Sage Bataille could not be bothered with the pretense anymore. He had long made up his mind to obtain the robot with the combat power of a sage and the spear of destruction. Sage Bataille, is this how you treat Sage Lin Feng's family? Although Zhang Qiji could not quite withstand the aura of a sage, he still braced himself and said while trembling. Now, everyone could see clearly that Sage Bataille was not acting on a resolution from the sages. He was clearly plotting to seize the League of Guardians. Sage Lin Feng had just died, and Sage Bataille was already doing this. It was truly disappointing. However, how terrifying was the might of a sage. Even the official members of the League of Guardians did not dare to step forward to stop him. Transfer your authority. Sage Bataille's tone was cold. Chu Chun gritted her teeth. She glanced at the League of Guardians around her and smiled wanly. I will help to guard your hard work. Guardian, activate and lock onto the intruder. Boom. As soon as Chu Chun finished speaking, the huge robot in the League of Guardians immediately stood up and locked its gaze on Sage Bataille. Enemy invasion. Combat mode activated. The Guardian with the combat power of a sage immediately activated its combat mode. Damn it! You actually dare to attack a sage. Sage Bataille was extremely furious. He wished he could strike Chu Chun dead on the spot. However, he could not do it, for the terrifying robot had already been activated and was charging towards him in a frenzy. Bang! As a war machine of the third civilization, once the Guardian activated its combat mode, it would unleash its full power without holding back at all. The Guardian struck out with a palm and sent Sage Bataille flying. Even if Sage Bataille protected his entire body with astral power immediately, it was useless. A huge hole was blasted through the door. The Guardian followed closely behind and flew out as well. Sister-in-law, let's leave this place quickly. Are there any safe places? Yes, follow me. Chu Chun also knew that the situation was grave now. When she activated the Guardian combat mode, the situation was already very serious. Sage Bataille was a high and mighty sage. How could he tolerate the confrontation of the League of Guardians? Sage Bataille was determined to seize the League of Guardians by force. There was no longer any possibility of reconciliation between the two parties. Hence, Chu Chun led Zhang Qiji and Bai Jing into the underground tunnel in a hurry. There was a huge basement there. Actually, this was the true ruin left behind by the third civilization. The League of Guardians above was only constructed by Lin Feng using robots. Be it the production of energy weapons, the energy conversion system, or the robot army, they were all located here underground. Only Lin Feng and Chu Chun had the authority to enter this place. Zhang Qiji was not in the mood to admire this magnificent underground building. He hurriedly asked, "We can see the situation outside from here, right?" "Yes. Go to the control room." Chu Chun brought Zhang Qiji and Bai Jing to the control room. In the control room, they could see all the scenes in the League of Guardians. There were also many cameras installed outside. At this moment, the Guardian had already gone out while chasing after Bataille. However, Sage Bataille was a distinguished sage. He was caught off guard by the Guardian, but was only in a slightly sorry state. Then Sage Bataille deployed the Divine Kingdom. In the void behind him, a huge water giant appeared. It was much larger than even the Guardian's body, and appeared very daunting. Zhang Qiji was very calm at this moment. He looked at the huge water giant, then at the Guardian. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said, "Sister-in-law, if we want to protect Brother Feng's hard work, we can't rely on the Guardian for everything. Sage Bataille definitely isn't acting on the resolution of the sages. I don't believe the sages would treat Brother Feng like this. You should contact the other sages first." "That's right. Let's contact the sages." Chu Chun also came back to her senses. Sage Bataille's reaction was so intense earlier, and he even destroyed Chu Chen's communicator. He clearly had a guilty conscience. Sage Bataille definitely did not obtain the support of the other sages. Hence, Chu Chen took Zhang Qiji's communicator and contacted the Invincible Fist Sage and Sage Kong again. 3 months had passed, but the Invincible Fist Sage's heart was still filled with sorrow and regret. He felt that he was to blame for Lin Feng's death. If he had not invited Lin Feng to explore the 18 grottos of Dragonhead, Lin Feng would not have died. However, no matter how regretful he was, it was too late. The Invincible Fist Sage only wanted to settle the matters at the base after some time, and then personally go to Central Sea to apologize to Lin Feng's family. Although he was a sage, he was a person of integrity. He was the one to blame for Lin Feng's death, so he would take responsibility. Although Lin Feng was dead, Lin Feng still had a family. At the very least, he had to ensure that Lin Feng's family could live without worry for the rest of their lives. Beep, beep, beep. Suddenly, the Invincible Fist Sage's communicator rang. He picked it up and saw that it was an unfamiliar number. It had to be known that the communicators of the sages were specially customized, and their information were the most tightly protected. It was impossible for any other unknown number to dial accidentally. The only possibility was that someone already knew his number. The Invincible Fist Sage picked up the call. An anxious voice came from the other end. What? The aura on the Invincible Fist Sage's body turned incomparably violent, like a volcanic eruption. There was even a chilling killing intent that seemed almost tangible. Bataille, you deserve to die. Boom. The aura on the Invincible Fist Sage's body erupted completely. He suddenly rushed out of the room and headed straight for the airship docked in the base. Sage Kong and Sage Yuani had been paying close attention to the excavation of the 7th civilization ruin recently. Originally, this was a good thing. The excavation work was also going very well, and the progress was slowly accelerating. However, Lin Feng's death negated all of this excitement. Sometimes, I keep feeling that it's surreal. How can the Lin Feng who always made miracles really die just like that? Even now, Sage Kong still could not quite believe it. Or rather, he did not want to believe it. They had been doing well with all 10 sages. With the addition of someone as strong as Lin Feng with the combat power of a sage, the pressure on the 9 sages would be greatly reduced. But now, saying anything else was pointless. Beep, beep, beep. An unknown number appeared on Sage Kang's communicator. Sage Kong frowned. He had basically noted down all the people who knew his communicator number. It was rare for an unfamiliar number to suddenly appear as now. However, he still picked up the call. Thud. Sage Kang's expression became darker and darker. Finally, he hung up. Bataille, you're really, really selfish and willful. Seeing Sage Kong gnashing his teeth in anger, Sage Yuani hurriedly asked, Sage Kong, what's going on? Bataille has arrived at the League of Guardians headquarters to seize the League of Guardians by force. Lin Feng's fiancé has already activated that robot with the combat power of a sage, and it is fighting with Bataille right now. Sage Yuani's expression also changed drastically. This Bataille is really blinded by greed. Lin Feng has just died, and he's already treating Lin Feng's hard work like this? Sage Kong, what are you going to do? Hold the conference of sages. No, Lin Feng trusts the Invincible Fist Sage the most, not me. Since I've been contacted, the Invincible Fist Sage must have been contacted in advance. With the Invincible Fist Sage's temper, he might kill Bataille. Sage Kong was deeply worried. He had no choice but to step in. Otherwise, the Invincible Fist Sage and Sage Bataille would definitely fight to the death. Losing any one of them would be a loss for the entire human race. I have to go to the League of Guardians to stop Bataille immediately. Sage Yuani, stay here. Don't let anything happen to the Black Wind Canyon again. Sage Kong, go quickly. Leave everything here to me. Hence, Sage Kong did not waste any more time. He immediately took the airship and rushed towards the League of Guardians. Divine Kingdom of Heavy Waters. Outside the League of Guardians, when Sage Bataille used the Divine Kingdom of Heavy Waters, he immediately gained the upper hand. His Divine Kingdom was a kind of legendary, heavy water. Every drop of water was incomparably heavy. While in the Divine Kingdom and inducing massive waves, in terms of combat power, Sage Bataille was not inferior to the Invincible Fist Sage. In fact, in terms of binding power, the Divine Kingdom of Heavy Waters could be considered the strongest among the 9 sages. Boom! 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 The rolling waves struck the Guardian. Although the Guardian had the combat power of a sage, that was all it was. Without the Divine Kingdom, the Guardian was at a huge disadvantage. Its abilities were too uniform. If it had the Spear of Destruction, the outcome might be different, but without it, the Guardian's strength was indeed much weaker. In the Divine Kingdom of Heavy Waters, rolling waves trapped the Guardian. It was as if countless mountains were pressing down on the Guardian, preventing it from moving. Humph, a robot is just a robot. It's too rigid and can't hold up against a blow. However, it's not bad if made into a fighter. Sage Bataille approached the Guardian and took out his communicator to activate the program that the mysterious person had sent to his communicator. Soon, the red light in the Guardian's eyes gradually disappeared. After a while, the Guardian suddenly raised his head and said in a mechanical voice, "Restarting the intelligent program. Binding Master's authority." Master confirmed. "It really works?" Sage Bataille waved his hand and released his restraints on the Guardian. He also gave some orders. As expected, the Guardian followed them one by one. Relying on that program, Sage Bataille really had control over the Guardian now. While Sage Bataille was happy, he also became even warier of that mysterious person. Guardian, where is the Spear of Destruction? The Spear of Destruction has been taken by the previous master. Taken? Sage Bataille was a little surprised, but he was not dismayed. In fact, it was better without the Spear of Destruction. The mysterious man could not hold it against him. After all, it was not that he had not kept his promise, but that he could not find the Spear of Destruction at all. In any case, he had gained a lot this time. After controlling the Guardian, the authority of the entire League of Guardians naturally fell into his hands. Controlling the League of Guardians would be easy. He was still looking forward to finding the secret of Lin Feng. Just as Sage Bataille was about to enter the League of Guardians headquarters, an angry voice suddenly sounded from the horizon. "Bataille, you deserve to die." In an instant, the entire sky seemed to have turned into a burning cloud of fire. A huge flaming giant was approaching through the air. Oh, Invincible Fist Sage? A terrifying ball of flames in the horizon transformed into a fiery cloud. A huge flaming giant walked out of the fiery cloud, stepping through the air, emitting a monstrous ferocity. It was the Invincible Fist Sage. The appearance of the flaming giant was largely similar to the Invincible Fist Sage. As soon as the flaming giant appeared, its body emitted a cold killing intent. With a furious roar, terrifying flames swept over and smashed towards Sage Bataille. Bang! Sage Bataille's Divine Kingdom of Heavy Waters seemed to be filled with flames. Even the mass of heavy water was instantly evaporated. Sage Bataille was sent flying by a head-on strike. Invincible Fist Sage. Sage Bataille roared angrily and immediately flew into the sky. Behind him, a giant formed entirely from water and treading on the waves appeared. It roared in rage. "The Invincible Fist Sage is here. It's really the Invincible Fist Sage. This is bad. Is a civil war about to break out between 2 sages? The last civil war almost caused humanity to fall apart. Sages, don't get into a civil war." Many martial artists saw that the Invincible Fist Sage had arrived. Moreover, he was filled with anger as soon as he arrived and attacked Sage Bataille directly. Even ordinary metamorphic realm martial artists could sense his awe-inspiring killing intent. When a sage was enraged, the world would tremble before them. Wild flames burned the sky. Fearsome waves struck the ground. As the flames collided with the heavy water, the Invincible Fist Sage and Sage Bataille confronted each other. No matter who won or lost in the battle between sages, it would be a calamity for all of humanity. Even though Sage Bataille had gone overboard, the martial artists disliked seeing sages fight even more, when it would lead to a civil war of humanity. Underground at the League of Guardians, Zhang Qiji and Chu Chun saw the arrival of the Invincible Fist Sage. The collision between the 2 sages was very intense. In particular, Seeing the invincible fist sage's furious gaze, Chu Chan and Zhang Qiji heaved a sigh of relief. The invincible fist sage has finally arrived. It seems like the invincible fist sage is very angry. However, we can't go out yet. Let's see how things develop first. Zhang Qiji was actually also worried that a great battle between sages might trigger a series of events. Normally, he definitely would not want to see a great battle between sages. Now, however, he was considering the League of Guardians and for Lin Feng's hard work, and was vaguely looking forward to the great battle between sages instead. Only by having the situation escalate could they possibly defend the League of Guardians. In the sky, Sage Batai's face was dark. He had just suffered a subtle loss and was in a rather sorry state. Invincible? Are you trying to start a civil war with me? Sage Batai shouted sternly. Civil war? You think too highly of yourself. I want to kill you. The invincible fist sage's killing intent soared. Lin Feng had just died, and Lin Feng had died for him. How could he stand aside and watch as Sage Batai took advantage of the opportunity to take away Lin Feng's hard work? Invincible? I know about your relationship with Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng is already dead. What is left of the League of Guardians that he established? Are some ordinary martial artists supposed to be comparable to the 9 sages? I only want this robot, and even the energy weapons can be divided equally among the 5 major factions. That will be very beneficial for all of humanity. Don't you understand? Haha. I don't understand indeed. I don't understand how someone can be as shameless as you. For humanity? More like for yourself. The divine kingdoms of the invincible fist sage and Sage Batai collided violently. Terrifying aftershocks spread in all directions, and even the world was drastically changed. Sage Batai's expression changed. Then, he said sinisterly, Invincible, do you really want to make an enemy of me? Batai, such dishonor is unacceptable. How can a dignified sage be so shameless? Lin Feng has just died, and you're already eager to rob his work. Haha. Do you even know why Lin Feng had died? He died it to resist 2 demon emperors. He died to save me. Unless I die, you can forget about taking anything from the League of Guardians. There was also resentment between the invincible fist sage and Sage Batai, but in the past, that was only some differences in ideals and minor conflicts. This time, Sage Batai's actions angered the invincible fist sage so much that he even developed killing intent. Such dishonor was unacceptable. Sage Batai's eyes narrowed slightly, and a trace of killing intent appeared in his heart. Humph, invincible, let's fight then. Everyone says that you're strong, enough to be ranked in the top 3 among sages. Let me see just how strong you are. Divine fire of apocalypse. The invincible fist sage had the conviction to kill. His monstrous killing intent was almost tangible. His divine kingdom of fire was filled with terrifying flames. It was as if a meteor shower had appeared in the sky, blasting towards Sage Batai from all directions. Sage Batai paid no heed to it. He also unleashed his divine kingdom of heavy waters to the limit. It constantly interwove and collided with the invincible fist sage's divine kingdom of fire, entangling each other in a frenzy. This was a true battle between sages. Everyone was terrified. It was as if the world was about to be sundered apart. The sky appeared to be wailing, and the ground seemed to be shaking in agony. Cracks appeared one after another like spiderwebs. The distant mountains were razed to the ground. Even many buildings in the League of Guardians headquarters were swept away and reduced to rubble. The destructive power of sages was astonishing, especially in a great battle between 2 sages. Moreover, both parties had developed killing intent. They did not hold back at all when attacking and went all out. Fire and water were innately incompatible with each other. The invincible fist sage and Sage Batai wielded the divine kingdom of fire and the divine kingdom of heavy waters respectively. Water could extinguish flames, and flames could similarly boil water. Every clash between the 2 sages was actually evenly matched. The invincible fist sage was known as the Fist Sage. His strength must be very terrifying, far surpassing other sages. However, Every drop of heavy water in Sage Batai's divine kingdom of heavy waters seemed to weigh 1,000 tons. In the divine kingdom, relying on his heavy waters, Sage Batai's strength was not inferior to the invincible fist sage at all. This was what it truly meant to be evenly matched. Neither could do anything to the other. Invincible, unfortunately, you're already too late. Guardian, attack! A sharp glint flashed across Sage Batai's eyes. He and the invincible fist sage were evenly matched, but he had already controlled the robot with the combat power of a sage. Hence, the robot made its move. Even if the invincible fist sage discovered the robot, it was useless. He was surrounded by Sage Batai's heavy water and could not escape at all. If he wanted to deal with the robot, he would be severely injured by Sage Batai's heavy water. Hence, the invincible fist sage could only choose to resist them head-on. Bang! How terrifying was the power of a robot with the combat power of a sage. With a single punch, the invincible fist sage felt all the astral power in his body dissipate. His entire body seemed to have suffered a devastating blow. Ha ha! Invincible! Die! Sage Batai was overjoyed. The divine kingdom of heavy waters simmered again. The infinite heavy water condensed into a wave and slammed hard towards the invincible fist sage. Oh no! The invincible fist sage is in danger. Chu Chun and Zhang Qiji had been on tenterhooks the entire time. They really hoped that the invincible fist sage could defeat Sage Batai. But now, Sage Batai had shamelessly used the Guardian of the League of Guardians to deal the invincible fist sage a fatal blow. Even if they were not sages, they could tell that if the invincible fist sage was struck, he would be severely injured, if not dead. Stop! Just as everyone's hearts were in their throats, a figure quickly flashed past in the distance. He was very fast. When his voice sounded, he was still in the distance. However, before his voice fell, he had already arrived in front of the invincible fist sage. Boom! The heavy wave slammed towards the invincible fist sage. With a wave of the hand of the mysterious figure, a storm formed in the sky, immediately holding the heavy wave at bay. Sage Kong. When Sage Batai saw who it was, his expression changed slightly. It's Sage Kong. Now that Sage Kong is here, he might be able to end the battle between the two sages. Seeing that it was Sage Kong, many martial artists could not help but cheer. Among the 9 sages, perhaps Sage Kong was not the strongest, but his reputation was the greatest. He was the first human sage to undergo 4 life transitions, and was known as the pioneer. He had made many major contributions to humanity. It could be said that he was wholly dedicated to humanity. Elder Kong, you came at the right time. Join forces with me to kill Batai. The invincible fist sage's eyes were bloodshot, and his killing intent towards Sage Batai did not decrease at all. Batai's eyes narrowed slightly. He said in a low voice, Elder Kong, you want to attack me too? Sage Kong glanced at the invincible fist sage and Sage Batai. In the end, he shook his head and said, I don't want a battle between sages to break out, because that will cause a civil war among humans. No matter which of you is injured, it will be a major loss to humanity. We have already lost Sage Lin Feng. We can't lose another sage. Batai heaved a sigh of relief. Although he was not afraid of Sage Kong, if Sage Kong was determined to join forces with the invincible fist sage, he would probably be in trouble as well. However, since Sage Kong was concerned about the greater good of humanity, Sage Batai was no longer worried. That's right. We're all sages, pillars of humanity. Although I'm a little domineering, I just want to seize the initiative. Moreover, I've already made concessions. The League of Guardians no longer has a sage presiding over it, and it still possesses so many resources. This in itself is unfair and does not benefit the development of humanity. Shameless! The invincible fist sage sneered. Invincible? Everyone knows about your relationship with Lin Feng. I won't argue with you. Sage Lin Feng is indeed a hero of humanity, but I'm probably not the only one interested in some of his secrets, right? Since he's no longer around, there's no need for his League of Guardians to exist. If the 9 sages can study his secrets and gain something, wouldn't that be the greatest contribution to humanity? Is that so? Sage Batai, Why don't you contribute everything from your consortium faction? For the sake of humanity, right? The Invincible Fist Sage did not listen to Sage Batai's excuses at all. Invincible, you're being unreasonable. I can swear here and now that if anything happens to me one day, the consortium faction will be for all of you to divide. How about that? Humph. Do you think everyone is as selfish as you? You won't care about what happens after you are dead. Lin Feng's fiancé is still in the League of Guardians, and the robot with the combat power of sages belongs to it. Why can't the League of Guardians stand? Speaking of selfishness, Invincible, is your academic faction not selfish? Humph, how many resources do the 3 sages of your academic faction possess? Normally, Sage Kong doesn't hold it against your academic faction for the sake of the greater good. Do you really think our consortium faction is afraid of you? Sage Batai and the Invincible Sage had completely fallen out with each other. Moreover, the conflict involved the consortium faction and the academic faction. Once the 5 major factions were divided in their values, and each factor acted for itself, it would be a disaster for the entire human race. Enough! If there is anything, we'll convene a conference of sages and let the conference of sages resolve it. Sage Kong took a deep breath and said in a low voice, "This matter ends here, Batai. Don't be demanding after already gaining the advantage. You can keep the robot with the combat power of a sage for now. As for the League of Guardians, it will be decided by the Conference of Sages." No, he can't take the robot either. The Invincible Fist Sage glared at Sage Batai. Batai was a little dissatisfied. After all, he still wanted to search the League of Guardians and see if Lin Feng had placed some secrets there. Unfortunately, the Invincible Fist Sage intercepted him. Now that Sage Kong was here, it was already a huge gain for Batai to obtain a robot with the combat power of a sage. He had even vaguely become the top among the 9 sages. Hence, he went along with Sage Kang's words and said, "All right, everything will be decided by the Conference of Sages." Thus, Sage Batai left the League of Guardians with the Guardian. Looking at Sage Batai's slowly departing figure, the Invincible Fist Sage gritted his teeth and remained silent. "Invincible, let this matter end here." Sage Kong heaved a long sigh. The Invincible Fist Sage looked at Sage Kong coldly and said expressionlessly, "Sage Kong, I won't be sending you off," met with the coldness and aloofness in the Invincible Fist Sage's tone. Sage Kong opened his mouth, but did not say anything in the end. He felt very guilty about this matter. However, for the sake of the greater good, he did not want a war between sages, let alone see the intrinsic order of humanity collapse and lead to a civil war. He could only choose to make concessions to keep the peace. It was despite the fact that he also did not agree with Sage Batai's actions, and it was all thanks to him that Lin Feng became a sage back then. For the sake of the greater good in his heart, Sage Kong chose to let down Sage Lin Feng and the Invincible Fist Sage. He also knew that after today, the 9 sages would probably never be as harmonious as before. However, at this point, Sage Kong only hoped to maintain the harmony between sages on the surface. Humanity could not withstand the ravages of a civil war anymore. I will hold the Conference of Sages as soon as possible to decide the ownership of the League of Guardians. With that, Sage Kong left on the airship. As the Invincible Fist Sage looked at Sage Kang's departing figure, a trace of helplessness appeared in his eyes as well. However, he immediately took a deep breath, and his gaze grew firm again as he flew directly towards the League of Guardians headquarters. "Chu Chen, you can all come out now." The Invincible Fist Sage came to the League of Guardians headquarters and shouted in a low voice. At this moment, the League of Guardians headquarters had already been reduced to rubble. Only a few buildings were intact. The aftershock of the battle between sages just now had even killed a few metamorphic realm martial artists by accident. Crunch. On the ground, a hidden cave slowly opened. Chu Chun and Zhang Qiji quickly walked out of the cave. "Lord Sage, is Lin Feng really?" There was still a trace of hope on Chu Chen's face. She wanted to hear the Invincible Fist Sage's answer with her own ears. The Invincible Fist Sage looked at Chu Chun, who had an expectant expression on her face. He opened his mouth, but could not say anything. In the end, he was the one who started this matter. However, he was still alive while Lin Feng was dead. Lin Feng is dead. I saw it with my own eyes. The invincible fist sage gritted his teeth. He could not lie to Chu Chun, or he would feel even more uneasy. The truth coming from the invincible fist sage was so cruel. Chu Chen's face was pale, but she could not even form a word. Zhang Qiji also bit his lip tightly, but he said indignantly, "Lord Invincible Fist Sage, you must uphold justice for our League of Guardians. Brother Feng is a dignified sage and a hero of humanity. How can he still receive such treatment after his death?" A trace of coldness flashed across the Invincible Fist Sage's eyes. He said in a low voice, "Don't worry. I won't let Sage Bataille touch a single hair on the League of Guardians." At this moment, Chu Chan also said firmly, "Lord Invincible Fist Sage, the League of Guardians must be defended. This is Lin Feng's hard work. We are counting on you." Chu Chun even bowed formally to the Invincible Fist Sage. Now, only the Invincible Fist Sage could help them. As for the guardian that had already been taken by Sage Bataille by force, Chu Chun and Zhang Qiji had completely lost hope over it. They only wanted to defend the League of Guardians. The Invincible Fist Sage felt incomparably guilty. He gritted his teeth and instantly rose into the air, returning to the airship and disappearing. No matter what, he had to protect Lin Feng's League of Guardians. After the Invincible Fist Sage left, the League of Guardians headquarters suddenly became very quiet. During this period of time, the League of Guardians had been developing rapidly. The number of official members had grown from the previous 63 to 183 in the present. Apart from the martial artists who died from the aftershock of the battle between the sages, there were still 179 official members of the League of Guardians. At this moment, these 179 martial artists had already gathered. They looked at the ruins around the League of Guardians with very complicated gazes. Sage Lin Feng was dead, and even the League of Guardians had been destroyed. Even the Guardian had been seized by Sage Bataille by force. Some martial artists who originally joined with opportunistic motives immediately began having second thoughts. Although Chu Chun had yet to break the genetic lock, she was not an ingenue. While she was studying alone in the Polar Academy, she had also broadened her horizons. Seeing the gazes of these martial artists, she understood what they were thinking. As you can see, Sage Lin Feng of the League of Guardians has already fallen, and the Guardian has been seized by force. Whether the League of Guardians can continue to exist will depend on the decision of the Conference of Sages. I have the authority of the League of Guardians, so I will make the call. If you wish to leave the League of Guardians, you can apply to leave now. I'll approve it immediately. Buzz. Hearing Chu Chen's words, the crowd immediately went into an uproar. Sister-in-law, you can't. Zhang Qiji's expression changed slightly. He wanted to stop her, but Chu Chun waved her hand. She had already made the decision. Normally speaking, once people joined the 5 major factions or the League of Guardians, they could not leave unless they had done something heinous. Then, the League of Guardians had the right to expel them. However, it was almost impossible for martial artists to apply to withdraw themselves. However, Chu Chen had already made an offer. She would let those who wanted to leave go. Some quick-witted people were immediately tempted. They had come to the League of Guardians for opportunistic reasons, feeling that the League of Guardians had great potential for development. Or perhaps they were here for Lin Feng in the first place. They felt that Lin Feng was so young and had great potential in the future, even surpassing sages. But now all of it had fallen apart. Lin Feng had fallen, becoming the first sage to fall among humans in decades. The League of Guardians was also targeted by another sage. If this went on, how could the League of Guardians keep developing? They had already lost hope in the League of Guardians. Now that they heard that Chu Chun would allow them to leave the League of Guardians, of course they were overjoyed. Hence, the first person stepped forward. Sorry, I apply to leave the League of Guardians. The martial artist who walked out first was a metamorphic realm martial artist from the first batch to join the League of Guardians. You? Many people glared at him, but since he already wanted to leave, Chu Chun naturally would not go back on her word. All right, I approve it. Now, pack your things and leave the League of Guardians. You are no longer a member of the League of Guardians. Chu Chen's voice was a little icy. This martial artist did not have much to pack. Even the League of Guardians had been reduced to rubble. What else did he have to pack? Hence, after obtaining Chu Chen's approval, he left in a hurry. Chu Chen had some authority in the League of Guardians, so she could naturally expel certain martial artists. Hence, after the first martial artist left, he was followed by the second and more. Chu Chen agreed to all of them and immediately removed their names from the League of Guardians. The number of official members in the League of Guardians decreased from 179 to 108. A total of 71 people left. Does anyone else want to leave? Chu Chen scanned the remaining crowd. Suddenly, she saw a familiar face. Lei Sheng. Young Master Lei. Back then, after the debacle, Lei Sheng still chose to join the League of Guardians. Moreover, it was with Lin Feng's special approval. He actually did not choose to leave. Lei Sheng walked out slowly and said firmly, "Since we've chosen to join the League of Guardians, we won't give up so easily. Unless the League of Guardians disbands, we will always be members of the League of Guardians. That's right. We won't leave." Back then, it was Sage Lin Feng who agreed to let us join the League of Guardians. We agree with the ideal of the League of Guardians. That was never for opportunistic motives. We won't leave. As long as the League of Guardians isn't dissolved, we will not leave. Looking at these passionate martial artists, Chu Chen also nodded to herself. Only the heavens knew how much pressure she had endured just now. The League of Guardians was founded by Lin Feng alone, and was the result of Lin Feng's painstaking effort. If all these members had left, she would also be disappointing Lin Feng. Fortunately, most of them did not leave. They were the true backbone of the League of Guardians, and trustworthy people. Chu Chen knew very well that the League of Guardians was experiencing all kinds of difficulties now, and could not afford any more internal discord. Thus, she might as well let those who wanted to leave go. The remaining people were all people who could go through thick and thin with the League of Guardians. Lin Feng, I will protect the League of Guardians and your hard work on your behalf. Chu Chen looked at the surrounding ruins. She gritted her teeth. She could not crumble now. This might be the only thing she could do for Lin Feng,